Something that goes viral will get your work in front of more eyeballs than like a year of but like when it goes viral, it gets seen by hundreds and thousands of people, and some of those people will probably study with you or buy your art, or so yes, you can do 2 or 3 posts you can do one thing a week, and if he knows that it's going to go viral, like if you kind of like know your niche, you can it's almost like having a studio assistant, like the full AI studio assistant, and you give it an assignment. And if you formulated the assignment.
My name is Brandy Hofer, your host of the Color Me Happy podcast. I am so glad you're here. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. If you want more weekly content just like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on Instagram at Brandy Hofer Studios anytime. I'm happy to chat. That's where I sit. And I'm so glad you're here, and I cannot wait for you to dive in. So give us a like and subscribe, and check the rest of our channel out. Hi.
Well, kind of. I get, yeah, like kind of. Yes, no. I can't keep up I can't and it's hard to actually go through the comments because sometimes there's mean ones and it hurts my heart so bad. But I met with a bunch of DIYers, and DIY is, as you know, as an Instagram expert, DIY is super popular because people just are so engaged in it. So I'm friends with this DIY pod, and they're like, do not take away the mean comments, screenshot them and save them and use them again. I was like, oh, that hurts my heart. It's so hard as a sensitive individual, or any individual really,
to read strangers talking shit about some things that you were reasonably sure you were doing pretty well.
I didn't know art could make people so mad, but honestly, they're pretty tame compared to say Nicole Landry, who is for body, she gets body shamed. I couldn't imagine she's Bird's Papaya, and she's a Canadian. She's so great. She actually commissioned me to do a picture of her and her baby, and but hers are mean. They're so mean. So it's not the worst of the worst.
So one of the videos I did that went really, really properly viral, the whatever, my most popular one, people say it was so innocuous, where it's just me flipping through a little sketchbook thing with trees and trying to explain something Da Vinci said about trees, right? To the best of my ability to understand what Da Vinci was saying about trees, right? And apparently I explained this in a way that offended so many people, and and made so many people so angry that there's over 1,000 comments, and some of them are a lot of them are people fighting it out, being well, what kind of class could she possibly teach? She can barely speak English. And then there's people who are I understood it, you can't speak English. And people will fight. This thing was so harmless, right?
It's right. But it's the most, you said, properly viral thing. It's when you have that controversial thing. They were right. You just leave it and people defend you, and people
I stopped reading it because because I was this was not where I meant all of this, maybe
oh my gosh. Oh, terrible. Yeah, yes, people just get I don't know, they just do it to do it, or this thing to be right, and it's such a waste of time. And actually, she ended up saying in her comments, she's like, actually, this is just a fart in the wind. It's so insignificant. I can't even anymore. I do go through them because sometimes to defend why do you think one person's version of art is better than or okay? It's these are all we're here to uplift and empower, and a lot of these people said that they haven't picked up something because of something someone said, or they were scared, or they were feeling down and they weren't making art, and this made them pick that up again. How dare you shame people for wanting to be creative? I get a little bit stop being mean, and we're good. And the reason I have Dina on today, and what we are talking about, so she knows, is her awesome online workshop, Instagram for artists, which, and your little thing says spend more time creating, less time scrolling, master Instagram in minutes a day. And so I don't know, had to be over a year ago, where I think you came on the Art Queens and you were like giving your tips, or maybe before. I had seen you a lot before, but then I decided I'm doing it. I'm taking the course, and I ended up doing the live workshop as well as going through the pre-recorded version as well, because they're both great. And you always add updates, which is great because it's always changing. But in the most recent change, I don't know if it was the change of the algorithm, which people are always mad when the algorithms change. But for some reason, what I decided to do was, first of all, reveal my biggest secret. But I had already been making content how you recommended making it in the course. And then I just figured out that education probably was my strongest niche to grow. And then what we talked about when you finally go viral is the post that makes people defensive in a way, and or like people were interested too in what it offered. But I did, like, when you initially said like don't place ads, stop doing these things and boosting or whatever, because, and I was like, okay. And that was like, it took so long to recover from all of that, right? Like what you thought you should do or work or what they expected. Because you said they will never admit it, but they block your organic reach somewhat when you pay, because they just want to be paid again and again. So that was like my first move, and then building and building from that. And just always keeping up on your content, because now instead of posting every day, which is so time consuming as a parent and a person who runs a business with 8 different income streams, is like, now I can do like 2 or 3 times a week and like stick to this niche and know what I'm doing and know what's going to work for the most part, and engage the audience that is, attracted to this one thing that I've focused on.
So way, like, the algorithm changes, which is frustrating, but on the other hand, not all of these changes are bad. And what it used to value was consistency, like you post every day, possibly at a specific time. And now it's more like virality. So something that goes viral will get your work in front of more eyeballs than like a year of but like when it goes viral, it gets seen by hundreds and thousands of people, and some of those people will probably study with you or buy your art, or so yes, you can do 2 or 3 posts, you can do one thing a week, and if you know that it's going to go viral, like if you kind of like know your niche, you can it's almost like having a studio assistant, like this little AI studio assistant, and you give it an assignment. And if you formulated the assignment the right way, it's just going to keep on doing it, right? Like if the assignment was formulated half-assedly, the reach is going to be whatever, like it's going to stop after 24 hours. But if you formulated the right way, your little AI studio assistant is going to be like roaming around the internet, universe, like fulfilling the assignment, being like, no, I really need to sell another Brandy painting, so I'm not going to stop. Let's get it in front of more people.
And actually, I see, like, and it's like you expect it to happen right away, and they don't. Like, it's so strange now that like weeks later, posts are taking off. And it's my portrait class. I actually got to be on the Jenna Kutcher podcast. I don't know if you know who that is. Like, she has the Gold Digger podcast and then the Gold Digger community. And she told me to focus on the one thing that was working. And so for me, it's our most popular thing is our portrait class, and where I teach us drawing hack or portrait hack. And so I was like, okay, I'll just focus on the one thing. So what I ended up doing was sharing kind of the biggest secret, right? Or like hinting at it, almost like, this isn't what we teach in the class, but this is like how to, and so it was like pretty much niching down. And then sharing that one thing and saying hack basically over and over and over again. And it is kind of the same thing with like a different spin on it, really.
Yeah, but it's sort of like you gave your studio assistant the assignment of like, I want people to know about the class. And because people, no matter how much the algorithms changed over the last bunch of years, the main thing has actually stayed the same. It's how to get people to stop and how to get people to stay.
Hang out.
And those are basically like that's me giving away the biggest secret of Instagram all in like 5 seconds. Like my class is just like how to get people to do both of these things as an artist without sacrificing your dignity. But what you did in your viral post is you got people to stop by giving them something both like cool to look at and something that's very like kind of enticing to read. I'm like, okay, I want to stick around. And then you kept giving them more information. So you gave them a reason, you gave people a reason to stop and a reason to stay. And it's
the longer you can, engage them. So I always fulfill that like whole minute. I don't go over a minute because the captions don't continue and we reuse our content on YouTube. So like it stays within the minute, but that's like 59 seconds. I'm like, I will keep you this whole 59 seconds and I will tell you to follow us and I will tell you to save this and I'll give you more information below. And then of course I have ManyChat hooked up. So then they head to the sequence. Like that's what, is it frustrating sometimes with all the knowledge you have and all this that you teach in your course and all the people you see succeed in this way when other people are just like throwing shit up and you're like, that is like, does it like, as a teacher, as an educator on this subject, does that like get you kind of like, oh, if they just like tweak this a little bit?
I am so my first language is Russian, and in Russian there's this expression that I'm not sure it works in English, but let me try it. It's called professional deformation, where you start seeing the world through the lens of whatever, like whatever it is you do for work. So sometimes like I talk to people like parents at pickup or drop off or whatever, and they tell me something and I'm like, do you know how to make that go viral on Instagram? And they
super dorky about it.
Yes, and they actually didn't ask. They were actually just complaining about their I don't know, whatever it is, their like yoga studio business. And I was like, I can fix that for you. Let me show you how to make a yoga video.
Take a look here if I could.
And no, like I'm trying to get them to take my class. I'm just like, okay, and here's what you do, and here's like where you set up the camera, and here's the hook, and then like sometimes like quite a way in, they're like, I'm like, oh, they just wanted to talk actually. Like they were not asking me how to go viral on Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
I
hear that.
I sometimes get frustrated with like people who have taken my class and are actually really, really good artists. And I'm like, but you're still doing the same thing. But then I kind of remember I think a lot of the people that take my class are actually just good, serious professional artists who've had a career much longer than mine and like have been painting much longer than me and deeply care. And they were trained to be artists. They were not trained to make like 20-second viral videos for social media. And it's very like none of us went to school for this. None of us really want to be doing it. And they just want to paint and they want this to take up as little part of their day as possible, which is completely understandable and actually totally doable. But you do have to like, I don't know, if it's a rigged game, then know how it's rigged. And
admittedly, I like painted so much for so long that like this is kind of a refreshing like shift. And I like it. Like I like helping others. Like, and I always was like, not an educator, like then I can't be an artist, which is a terrible way to like think. And I burnt out from making art so hard. And like it broke my heart too. It's hard. It's a tough biz to like have an opening and have a collection and then sell a few, or this collection sells all, or this collection sells none. Like I was so burnt. I'm still burnt out from it. So the education, working with young people physically, doing murals, having online education, and then this is a way to like make it spread and make it like a thing, make it work.
It
It's
will.
so cool.
It will work. Like it will spread it. Like your viral video, and I look through your account. So there's like a few more like that. That if you kind of tweet, we
Give it to me.
we all kind of, but I see you're doing it though. You're you. Like this is a very dry way of talking about both painting and education, both of which are wonderful. Social media is not wonderful, but you kind of like each time you make a post, whether it flops or goes viral or whatever, that's the algorithm trying to tell you something. It's like you're talking to it by making stuff, like making content, and content's another awful word for art. And it's but by the way that it responds, it's trying to talk back, right? So, and I see you doing it. You're like, okay, like let me try this. Let me try this kind of video. Let me try this kind of let me try a voiceover. Let me, let me try an educational video. And then you're kind of probably seeing the kind of feedback you get, and then you're like, great, let me iterate. Let me do a better version of that. No, you're doing it just right. And once because you have had something that went viral, and you probably got a lot of new followers from it, you now have all these fresh followers who are there for this specific thing. So if you do this specific thing again, that niche is just going to grow like that.
Totally.
So the upside is educational stuff will always work. The downside is those are not the people who are going to be commissioning you for art.
No. And that's okay, because I don't have time to take commissions. Commissions specifically are what burnt me out in the first place. And I get them once in a while, but I don't say that I do it. I'm very efficient at commissions, but I just, I'm okay with, because for about 15 years, I just made art. I raised, for 10 of it, I raised my children, and then before that, I was just like working and making art, like with a full-time job. And so I'm okay with, I really want online education to grow. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with like the Instagram being for online education, and then like having a post that like it brings legitimacy to my practice. Like, by the way, because some people do say they're like, I've trained and this is not drawing. And like, they're like, I'm like, I have taken anatomy, I have trained, I have my degree, I'm there with you. But I don't think that it's fair to say that this isn't considered art. So I think you should stuff it. I don't say that. I'm super nice, but.
Do you have a lead magnet?
I have so many lead magnets.
Yes, but,
I've had them forever, but now they're working, right? Which can we talk about them for
yes, absolutely,
listeners, because we know.
Yes, well, that's been my. I think during the time that I had pneumonia due to, I don't know. That I caught pneumonia from parenting, which is what I'm convinced caused it. That I wound up reading a lot of, I don't know, I wasn't very active for like a while, and I wound up reading a lot. And at some point, I started reading these kind of businessy books written by people I would probably not like very much in real life. One of them, I've never had any business education. Like I kind of built something myself intuitively that wasn't very efficient. But at some point, one of these businessy books was like, you should have a lead magnet. And it made sense. And I made one, and all of a sudden my mailing list went from like, a few thousand people to like 30,000. And it didn't actually take very long. It just took, it took making one or two things that I kind of liked making anyway. So yes, let's talk about lead magnets, because that was like the most recent section of the Instagram class was actually a lead magnet section, which is not necessarily Instagram related, but makes a huge difference as far as.
Well, why are you growing your Instagram if you're not feeding them into something, right? Like, what is really the purpose.
So for a while, I thought that you could actually use it almost directly as a mailing list before it became algorithmic. And then once it became algorithmic, it's like, no, because now the algorithm gets to control whether 10% of people, who follow you see this, or 30%, or like 1%, which is pretty common these days for a non-viral post. Whereas if you get people onto your mailing list, you can then contact them directly and they can unsubscribe if they find your emails annoying. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of working cogs to having a lead magnet, or why are you posting and what lead magnet are you leading to? But precisely like why. So I'll give an example and then you can give an example. So for Portrait Hack leads to our free mediums guide. What mediums to avoid. So that's like very, like that piques curiosity, right? So that's very like, I need to see this because I need to know what that medium is, right? I don't want to use it to mixed media if I need to avoid it. So that gets them in, they give their email. And by the way, I'm still at the few thousand in lead magnets or for subscribers. Like only like 2 months ago did I see my viral post. So now I've doubled my subscribers and I'm sure it will continue to grow. But I've consistently stayed up until this point. I do a weekly inspiration newsletter with our podcast featured member and like I've stuck to the thing that works because 50% of our emails gets opened. So it's really great statistics. So like you stay consistent, like you have this as a habit and it goes every Sunday night and whatever. So, and it sells art and classes and podcasts and it's like the same every time. And, people love it because I always give tips, right? Like I'm always giving something back. I'm not just selling them things. I'm like giving them life information. So the hack leads to the magnet, which leads them to something that they're going to want to stick around and read. And then, of course, if they'd like to take this, and this, they feel more they feel inspired by you. They feel engaged. They these are people with heartbeats and emotions. And so it's like, why I did that is because I actually love my students and my art friends. And I love Instagram for that reason, because it connects me to my friend Juliana in Brazil and my friends in New York. And like, I would never have those friends if not for this. And then it's just this really cool cycle of, so I'm genuinely love the whole system. And so I think people feel that. And so it's really cool that finally, after years and years of this, figuring out this cog and you helping me get there, it's like it's leading to growth in an organic way that I've actually set up many systems and spent years setting up those systems that are finally flowing through. So lead magnets are so important. And even if you've had them for a long time, they can work eventually if,
So the best way I can kind of like sum up a lead magnet is it should be something free that is more useful than information than stuff people would have to get like pay money for elsewhere. Like have it be
right.
Have it be genuinely useful. Have it be something that people can't just like Google, right? So like I like in my case, my business actually, like I made these lead magnets and people started signing up, and for like about 2 months it made no difference at all financially. Like where I was like, you know what, like I've got like a lot of people who want a free guide to something or other.
Did you have like a sequence to set up within the magnet?
I set up a sequence and just like no one really wanted it. Like, and I set up two, right? I set up two. I read this book. I got really excited. I also recovered from pneumonia, which gave me all this energy to, I had one actually. It was kind of like it was like an Instagram troubleshooting guide for artists, because I think a lot of the problems people have are the same problems. Like everyone thinks that their account can't grow for like a unique reason. But generally when accounts don't grow, it's actually for the same reasons. like, like the same kind of big reasons. And like one of them is like, if you paid for ads, that's a really big, like it really will limit your organic reach kind of like forever. I mean, or at least like until you make
5 years later, I
until
stuck to it. Because you said if I remember you specifically saying, if you paid for whatever, and then your followers aren't organic. And I did stop it right away, but it was still that. And you described the funnel and why it won't leave the funnel. And I was like, I know I have real people in here. I just have to filter out the other stuff. And like, it just took such a long time to recover from all of that. Like, it's crazy.
Yes, but now that like you have a whole bunch of actual organic food, it's going to be much easier. Like it'll be much easier for you to grow by another 100,000 than it is to grow by like 5,000 when a bunch, like when Instagram suppresses your reach. That so yeah, like that was my lead magnet. It was like a troubleshooting guide for Instagram, and then I made like the other class I teach like as a sketchbook class, and I made one for like for like how to begin a sketchbook, because like how to begin and maintain it, just because that's something that I love. Like I like sketchbooks much more than I like Instagram.
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful to Instagram because I'd never be able to, honestly, I'd never be able to make a living otherwise. But no one actually likes being on social media, and no one likes these algorithms. And even like what we were talking about before, even when something works, you still wind up with like some amount of negative. You either find yourself checking your phone too much, trying to figure out what happened, or you're like, why does a total stranger hate me so much?
Yeah, no, there are parts of, well, anything in life that suck. You have to, weigh it. Like the good the benefits have to outweigh the bad, right? So.
And in my case, like I made those lead magnets, and like I remember complaining to my friend who like turned them into nice looking PDFs for me. I was like, it's been 3 months. I've got like over 5,000 people have signed up for this, and not a single one of them wants to give me any money for anything, right? I was like, maybe I'm just really good at making free stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually, it started working very, very slowly over the course of a year. But then, like when I looked at my income at the end of that year, it was like I was like a much more solvent person. So eventually, it all worked, but it didn't work right away.
And you can tweak your sequences and tweak your language and tweak your free video or PDF. And I actually have a person, because time is precious, who helps me with datas and sequencing specifically. So she loves math.
I also hired a friend of mine who is amazing. Like she's just, she like runs an art business thing. Like she's, I don't know if you want me to name her, but like she, it's like, so I couldn't recommend her more. And she was the best at this. And she's the one
you can name her.
Her name
Shout out.
Her name is Marina Granger. You should actually interview her.
Oh, I know who she is.
She runs the Artist Academy. So at some point I hired her to tweak my sequences, because I was like, something I'm doing is not working. And she did.
Hold on, let me just check. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same person.
So she runs this thing called the Artist Academy, which is kind of like an art business.
Yes. I actually, oddly enough, just because I'm bad with names, and I just want to make sure we're talking about the same woman. She bought us donuts in New York. She's friends with Ekaterina Popova. And that's why I went to New York, and I ended up spending the day with her and all my friends.
And I introduced her to Ekaterina Popova because they were both like Russian expat female entrepreneurs, and they have the same kind of like fluffy, cute dog. So
I know, and they love.
At some point, I was like, ladies have to meet.
It was a good meeting because they are like two peas in a pod. That was a good instinct. Yeah, they're both great women.
So my superpower is I meet a lot of people just through my meandering through the world and and life. My superpower is I try to introduce everyone to everyone.
Oh, I like that.
So now that I think about it, you and Marina would have been a very organic introduction.
We just happened to meet, so we're
Yes.
good. Yeah, she is so sweet. That whole group, like Kat's built something really great with the art queens, and like it is just such a good group of her friends actually, and we talk to each other all the time. So I wish I could see them more, but life has gotten a little bit nutty. So I like,
Um,
yeah.
can I come because I vaguely remember when Marina met with Kat actually, and I let like I'm in New York every like month and a half or so, but not like not frequently enough to do this, but frequently enough to like still see the people I like there. But I was like, time it was for me next time. Like I want to do this too.
Yeah, I'm never in New York because it's almost an 8-hour flight. So it was just like I was with PXP with Alicia showing there. So it was pretty cool. It was fun, but I just meet online with the queens. But yeah, you should meet with them more if you're in New York all the time. That's really cool.
Well, it's because that so Boston has a lot of it's my family and my parents are here, my kids are here, everyone's happy. I'm not moving back, obviously, but like the part of my life where I had an identity that wasn't parenting is still like I left it in New York. And then when I go back there, I get to, my clients are still there, my galleries are still there. So when I go back, I get to kind of reclaim a version of myself that
Oh, yeah.
because like I think when I'm in Boston, I'm just like kind of the tired looking parent with like, I don't know,
You
stuff
get
on
to put on clean clothes and maybe do your hair a little bit and eat
and like
dinner out
sleep.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is me and you are kind of like we're probably in the same part of life with like the kids are still young and interesting and not quite as needy as a few years ago, but like still really needy actually. But most of my friends who stayed in New York have this they didn't have to they chose both most of them chose not to have children and they have a lot of freedom and a lot of them became like very successful and like so when I see their life, it feels much more glamorous than mine, and I kind of like visiting in it. Like,
I like visiting in it, and then after 3 days in it, I'm like, I'm ready for my day full of like mess and love. I like it way better. It's so funny. It like looks glamorous, but like my life feels better than that. Like I get tired of putting on clothes and going for dinner and all the things. I just like miss the messy part of
uh,
life.
I don't miss it after 3 days, but I miss it after five. After three
Yeah.
days, like I'm just getting started. you know,
Yeah.
but after five,
Yeah.
um, but like I've had like a few times where I was away from my kids for like over a week, like a few times in the last 10 years, and like it doesn't, like you start like missing them fiercely, and
Mm.
how good like I realize how good I actually have it in my normal messy chaotic life where like there's frequently a 5-year-old with like you're the worst.
I know. I know. They're so strange. Like my son just like right before we started was having like a breakout. He's homesick, but so he's not in his best, but he pulled up his report for Air Jordans. And I was like, so cool. Dude, do you know some fun facts about Air Jordans? And I'm like, and there's a movie about it and we can watch it together. And he started to cry. He was like, I don't want to do that with you. I was like, okay, I misread the situation. And sorry, like they're so funny. And like they just run around and I have 3 boys, so it's real chaos on a stick.
So I guess probably since the last time I talked to you, or I don't know, must have been a while ago, where at some point I met this I had 2 boys, and then I met this really like who had single parented for like their most of their life. And then I met this really amazing guy, and he came with one boy who was about the same age as, like, who was like right between my two. And so now at least, he's with his mom half the time and his dad the other half the time. So now for like half the time, I also have three boys. And
It's crazy, right?
you know, initially, yes, it's completely crazy. Just a level of like testosterone in the house, where like I feel like I live in this testosterone puddle, and that's just my 5-year-old, like that. So where there's just a lot of like, I don't know. I've seen the little one weaponize like a piece of broccoli, or he'd like take it off his plate, going pow pow pow, I'm shooting you, and
Yeah.
it's, who are you? And the amount of times that they can spend just kicking a soccer ball and vaguely insulting each other. But it's also like I grew up with a sister and a lot of female cousins. And we were like much more devious and probably less straightforward, aggressive,
Yeah.
and more civilized about our fighting. And there's something refreshing about the fact that when they have a problem with each other, they just wrestle.
Yeah. No. And they say exactly what's wrong for sure. It's there's like, I like don't live with, and some were like some girls and boys are different for sure. There's like a huge spectrum of children, but like for example, I will have like my niece here, or no, we have this like mini blow up hot tub that I asked for Mother's Day, thinking it would be nice and relaxing, and I was really fucking wrong. But I have it, and no one would come in with me except the little neighbor girls. I remember I promised Val, the 5-year-old little girl, that she could come in, because the one day I was off to like work. I was like, sorry, Val, like we only have the cold plunge, which is the worst. And so she had her goggles on. So I was like, now I can promise Val before summer ends that she can come in. So like they were like calm, and we talked the whole time, and they were like, why is this branch broken above the hot tub? And I was like, the boys were doing flips into the hot tub, and the hot tub's only like this deep, and they broke this branch off the tree flipping into here, and they were like, so like that's super dangerous. I was like, I agree.
So I've got the same. My sister has, well, so she had a boy this year, but she has two girls who are like the same age as my two, and it's like different species. Like her 5-year-old will say, she will, when she sits on my lap, she just sits and we chat, and she philosophizes. She has these questions about like the nature of human beings or the universe. My 5-year-old, when he sits on my lap, he's like squirming, and like, he's all like elbows and knees, and like somehow manages to like vaguely like hurt me.
I know, the boob elbow, it happens a lot.
And that's like him cuddling.
Yeah.
And it was her. It was amazing. I was like, what is so different about this child? And I'm like, oh, she's still like, she's not trying to, like, she's not like elbowing me in the face by accident, or trying to like pinch my thumb just to see what happens, or
Oh, it's so strange. But cool. Yeah, I like that. I'm like, it gets me outside a lot more than I would normally be. So it's good.
The amount of time I've spent just in the last 2 weeks watching them all play. They're all three of them do soccer, and which means they all have practices and games, and it's like destroying my life. But I'm like, I have been outside for like 5 hours today watching.
I feel good.
What's funny though? I always like, I think I should be able to, like, they don't need me as much right now. Like they're, like whatever, 5, 8, and 8 respectively. And like a lot of they can play by themselves. All these soccer games have like coaches, and like I'm not necessary there. So I'm like, I should be able to write an email or draw in my sketchbook. And it's like I can't do anything. Like I can't concentrate.
I know.
Like I can't block out the chaos. And like I drop them off at school, and I immediately, like, all of a sudden it's like everything calms down, and I can just concentrate on any task at hand.
Yeah, we're living the good life. Let's wrap this back around to
Okay.
When you take Dina's course, and we'll have the link in the notes, it will allow you to have sustainable and passive, more sustainable and passive income sources, because you will save time and energy giving into the social media beast of time consumption. And as we always say, time is our most precious commodity. So this course, and it's guaranteed, well, not guaranteed, it's what you make of it for sure. But I've done it, and I've trialed and errored, and what Dina has to offer truly works. And she's like debunked so many things that people say about it. And anything that gets you organic reach rather than paying for it, I think is a better route to go. And then do it for a reason, have it into a system sequence to get subscribers, and you'll be golden.
You will, but it won't happen overnight, and that's something that
Won't
I
happen overnight.
realize that it winds up being sustainable income, like overall, like I'm much more solvent than I ever hoped I would be. I always like a lot of these businessy douchebag books that I read late at night or whatever, have this idea of passive income. And so I like it. I like the idea that, that like I can just sleep and money gets made somehow. And it's never entirely passive. Like it's sustainable.
Not really.
You kind of like hustle, you will make money. And like whatever income streams are, like whatever that looks like for you. But generally, like I wish there was more actually passive income rather than like, well, if I set all of these complicated like pieces of motion, then eventually money will, make it back. But maybe I just haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a mixed bag, but I think if you can figure it out, if you figure this out, what we've said and what we've offered in this conversation / about motherhood and life, but like, and being you, like showing up and being you and making this template that you've created in this system work for each individual. You have it set up for artists and creatives, but it is true to many, many people. This sort of, like I said, template, and it really does work. And then you like figure it out, and then instead of, when you're scrolling, you're more like a detective, and you're like seeing what people could be doing, and then you're like, or you see something that's doing really well for someone, and you're like, I can figure that out, how to mimic that in my own system, and that might work for me, it might not. And it's like a fun little game, and I like it.
Whereas I don't even necessarily like it, but
I know you don't.
I'm eerily attuned to it, right? Like the algorithm changes, and it's like I'm the whisperer. I talk to the AI. Is it the one saying is, so like whatever problem social media has, those algorithmic gatekeepers I find still easier to work around than human gatekeepers, like the people who give out grants and residencies and I don't know, tenured college professor positions. That right, like the algorithm is hard to negotiate, but it's much easier than like it's not going to judge you for not going to Yale and not having like that on your resume. It's not going to judge you for not having done some very specific internship that like you couldn't afford to do because you needed to have a real job. So I think about it that way, and I'm like, and what if you're not a raging extrovert and you don't want to network at art openings and like meet one person who can introduce you to the next one, who can introduce you to the next one. So for people who are maybe a little more on the introverted side, this is actually a godsend.
I love that it doesn't judge, any academia or place in the world, and you can make it work for you. I actually love, my kids love, I also like, my kids love Unspeakable on YouTube, and he's coming on Instagram now because And it's so funny. So he's made it on YouTube, like millions of followers, millions of views, income on YouTube. But it's funny because in order to help sell his course, I see him shifting into Instagram, which tells us that in order to get those heartbeat followers who are actually invested in you as an individual and person, those people sit, the algorithms that work on Instagram are getting the right people to you. And so it works really well for you as an individual business. If one of the most successful YouTubers of all time is shifting his focus onto Instagram, that's safe. And I took his course because I was curious, right? Because I'm always curious, and I was he did a great job. I'm fascinated by it. Now I'm fascinated by a 24-year-old or 27, however old Nathan is. But like, he tells his story of, and this is what I was thinking of, and we could talk forever and I'll wrap this up, but he tells his story of, being bored in school, and making his own and deciding to do this thing and setting these goals, and which I really like. I love that. Instead of, going this normal route, I mean, it's kind of selling, like, if you want a Lamborghini, you can, but like, his goals changed in life. And, it's just, he took something and made something from it and researched online and was a self-educator and was always curious and then was a detective and figured it out. And so if you can figure it out, I think it's like this gift that can keep on giving.
The internet really, okay, like, so I wasn't born in this country, and I was born in a country with like very limited opportunities for everyone. But then because we're Jewish, they were even more limited because Jews couldn't go to like certain schools and have certain jobs. And then we came here, and it was like this, for a long time, like a lot of my parents, my grandparents would talk about just like the opportunities, like you can be anything here, right? And I know that there's a lot of, problems in every country, including this one, but it feels like you can be, like sometimes I think about what life would have been like had we stayed, and it would have been much more limited, just economically and socially and kind of, academically, right? But in a way, the internet is kind of like that illusion of America that we had, where like anyone can become anything here. And I feel like just over the last bunch of years, like I guess my other gift is like I pivot, I pivot when things don't work. And so I wind up pivoting a lot. And I'm like, I've had like 5 different lives, and I built all of them myself, and some worked out better, some worked out worse, but I'm incredibly grateful for the ability to do that.
That is so true. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. If you don't like your job, just make up your own job.
Sometimes people ask me, yeah, resources.
Some people can do it though, and some people can't.
I feel like I have a made a job where it consists of all of these different things that, take some amount of time and effort. Like, it's not exactly easy, but it does feel like I've just talked this specific, like job or career or whatever is, I've talked it into existence.
Yeah. Yes. Written it down, dreamed it up, and went through the phases. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for coming on. I could talk to you for a very long time, just because we're in the same stage of life.
Oh my God, we could complain about how much havoc the boys have wreaked.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you. And yeah, everyone can get the link below to Dina's course. And
if you want to feel empowered and inspired, like and subscribe for more. And if you want to get creative, check out all our art hacks on this channel.